So, chapter 3 of Go All-in-One is system software. All right. So system software, there's a few different things. This is going to be what's going to control the computer hardware and its peripheral devices. So things like your drivers and stuff like that. You're also going to have operating systems, all right, which his job is to manage the system resources and provide an interface for you to communicate with the hardware and other software. And then you also have system utilities, all right. System utilities are normally part of the OS install, and they help keep the computer running. Task Manager is a great example of that. That is what I've been showing you guys when I've been doing this little zoom in on things. So this would be your Task Manager right there is what I'm showing you. So, um, and then you also have some utility software, and this enables you to maintain, repair, and protect your computer. This may be included with your OS or purchased from another company. Your virus software is a great example of this. Windows has Windows Defender built right into it. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's really a personal preference. But you also can replace it with things like McAfee or Norton or AVG or things along those lines. Ooh. Come on, go to the next slide. There we go. We have temporary storage. All right, and this is what I was mentioning in the last video. We have virtual memory. All right, this is basically an extension of your RAM on your hard drive. So this allows you to basically make more RAM from your hard drive space. Not really a great thing, especially if you're using an old school spinning hard drive. It's going to be on the slower side of things for your RAM, so it's not something that you really want to do. This is called a swap file or a paging file, and this is how the virtual memory stores that information. And paging is the process of moving information from your RAM to your virtual memory. So that is temporary storage. Ideally, you want to avoid this. Like you just, and don't have my pen enabled. There we go. You really just want to avoid temporary storage at all possible. And the best way, the easiest way to do that is just to increase your RAM. All right, that's really what we want to do here. So if you can, increase your RAM. Now, when it comes to your operating system, you have a user interface or a GUI, which is your graphical interface. This is how we interact with the computers. This includes things like your desktop, your icons, menus, the software you're using. There's always going to be some sort of user interface there for you. And as I said, there is the GUI and there is a UI. So user interface versus graphical. It's actually a lot quicker, when not possible, just to use your keyboard. Don't touch your mouse. If you can avoid moving your hand off your keyboard, you will be able to use your computer so much faster if you know all the shortcuts and things like that. So that is one thing that you definitely want to keep your eye on. There are different types of OS categories. We have a single or multi-user or a single or multitask. So you have single, which is traditional PC type of thing. It's really bad. But then you also have your multi-user, multitask, those types of things. And those just allow you to basically have your server acting somewhere, and that allows you to, have multiple people accessing at once. Oftentimes it's called a VDI or a virtual desktop interface. So that is something you want to keep in mind. If you're ever on campus in your room 202 in the ATC, those computers I believe are all VDIs. I think 202 is the room number. That's my big question here. But basically, when you sit at the computer, there's very low-end specs on that hardware, and its whole job is to do two things. One, send your inputs to the server wherever that's located, and two is to send back or to receive the display. That is basically all that hardware in front of you is doing. So you can have a pretty low-end computer sitting somewhere with a nice server running in the background. So little give and take going on there. Here we have a whole bunch of different operating systems. We have Windows. Windows 10 is definitely the current version of Windows that we're rocking right now. It is estimated that over 90% of personal computers are running a version of Windows. All right. Mac would be next. All right. Mojave, OS X 10, OS X 10 or Mojave. That would be your Mac version. That's the most up-to-date version of this. Mac, in theory, it's only used on Macintosh computers. That's the only way for you to get it. Windows, you at least used to be able to install on Macs. I'm not quite sure with their new M1 chip how that's all going to work out. So something interesting to see. iOS would obviously be the Apple version of the mobile interface. So this is mainly going to be for tablets, iPhones, iPod Touches, those types of things. Where Mac is mainly for laptops, desktops, and they do have all-in-ones. There is actually a version of Windows for your phone. Don't suggest it, but it does exist. Next, we move to Android. All right, this is the Google smartphone and tablet market. All right, and this is actually the largest market out there for mobile phones. Although, while you can only get iOS on Apple devices, the Android you can get on a whole plethora of devices. You can get them on Samsungs and Motorola's and I don't know any other names off the top of my head. But anyway, you can get them on a lot of devices. Basically, Google has some terms of service that you have to agree to be able to distribute stuff with it. Linux is another desktop operating system. It does go into laptops and tablets as well. Android is actually based on a Linux operating system. And actually, the most recent one to market is this Chrome OS. This is, again, a Linux base. It's basically a Chrome web browser. That's all you get, and then you can get a whole bunch of add-ins. And I think you can actually starting now, you can get Android apps for on your Chromebook, which opens up a lot of the possibilities there. Here we have a quick little look at the world and who's using what. So Android is green, Windows is blue, iOS is red. All right, there's very little bit of red up here. But for the most part, Windows is the winner. For desktops, Windows has 79.2% of the market as of whenever I got this information a year or two ago. Chrome OS is 1.35%, Mac for almost 15, and Linux is about 2. Now, when it comes to the mobile market, again, when I got this information, Android was 85%, iOS was 13%, and there's a few percent for other things. But Android is still the king of the mobile market share. All right, Linux. It is an open source operating system traditionally, which means you can just download it for free. Not all variations of it are. All right. Most often, this is used on servers. There are versions of it for personal computers, which I actually do like. Every once in a while, there's a good purpose behind it, and it does definitely have its purposes in place. But you do have to know when that is. But often it's in for web servers, other types of servers, those types of things. There is a whole lot of decisions when it comes to upgrading versus updating and things like that. So, but Linux is definitely something out there. It's a fun thing to go play around with if you have some time. We also have what's called real-time operating systems, or R2OSs. These are things that need absolute precision when it comes to timing. So car engines, point of sales, robotics, those types of things. We also do have those multi-user operating systems, which are network-based. So again, those virtual desktops, those types of things. Unix is another one. So lots of things going on there. We already briefly talked about the user interface, but it's how we use computers. We have command-driven interfaces, menu-driven, which is what we'd see right here. So this is a nice menu. And then we have our graphical. So this would be our command-driven, where you just have a line where you physically type out your entire command. Menu is you can go through and you can kind of go, okay, I want this one, and then I want this, and you can select things. Graphics is purely what you see on the screen, which is definitely nice. There are all sorts of different types of file types out there. All right, probably the biggest ones that you will use are DOC or DOCX, XL, XLS, and XLSX, which is your Excel. This would be Word, PPT, or PPTX, PDF, but MP3. There's a lot of options out there when it comes to different types of file extensions. But all a file extension does, the whole point of the file extension is to tell the computer what program to open. It doesn't encode the information. It doesn't protect the information. All it tells us is what software to use. Someone asked, is DOS OS still in use? And no, DOS is like the pre-Windows. So this was back before Windows 95 and things. So I'm sure it is still being used somewhere, but very, very rarely at this point. So file extensions. Not very often. Over here on the top, the right, I have some different hard drive formats. All right, so these are FAT, NTFS, which is the one that was Windows, APFS is the Apple file sharing. All these other ones you might end up seeing in different locations. So there's a lot going on there. File Explorer, you guys should be pretty used to, since you did watch my video, hopefully, on that. But here's all the different sections for it. Probably the most important part is this address bar. Tabs at the top, those are definitely useful. back, forward. I like the navigation pane personally, even though I don't completely understand how things are working there. So a lot going on with File Explorer, but again, I have a whole video on that. And then last is cloud storage, which again, there's video on, but basically, as someone put this once, it's storing your files on someone else's computers. That is what cloud storage is. And the biggest question I have for you is, do you trust them? All right. If you trust them, great. Store your files there. Later, you can get them back. It definitely makes accessing and things like that much, much easier. But it's definitely not the end-all solution for your files and what you should do with them. On the screen, I have definitely some different options. I think Apple has their own, if I remember correctly. Apple, I think, has one. Personally, I'm a big fan of Google Drive, but again, Google could ruin my life if they wanted to. You all, as part of HCC students, you actually have, I believe it's like 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage. So I'd highly suggest that you guys start using that for backing up your data. Oh, I do have Apple's one listed at the top, iCloud. You also do have Dropbox and things like that. So, but this is a very easy way for you to share your files with another person. So that's definitely a big benefit. You can access them through the websites, or you can download apps on your computers and those types of things. So this is definitely a little bit of give and take. The biggest benefit for me for Google Drive is syncing between devices. So whenever I'm at home and I'm working on one of these PowerPoints and I save it to my Google Drive, it instantly gets uploaded to the internet, to the wonderful cloud here. And then if I have another computer on somewhere, it then gets downloaded to that one. So I have my home computer, I have a work laptop, I have my desktop at work, So it automatically goes from home up to the cloud and then down to those other two as soon as they have internet access, which is big, big benefit there. So that's why I love it. And it also allows me to share files with you guys, which how my PowerPoints and things like that are often shared for my classes. So that way you guys would have the most up-to-date PowerPoints as I go through and tweak things. I used to just upload stuff to D2L or Moodle, and man, let me tell you, I can't tell you how many times I would modify something in my office and I'd go to the classroom to go teach it, and I'd go, I forgot to upload that file to D2L. So when I downloaded it, it didn't have all my little tweaks and things that I just made. So cloud storage, lots of options there. But as I think you guys have a lot of OneDrive storage. Great place for backing up information is really what it comes down to, in my opinion. Great place to back things up, as long as you trust the providers. All I can say. All right, and that brings us overall to the end of Chapter 3. I know that was extremely fast, but based on our time, that was about the best I could do. So, yeah, end of Chapter 3.